Welcome to Grow Getters with host Davis Michaelsen, who's looking for and discovering agriculture's most inventive side hustles. Grow Getters is sponsored by BASF. Get 0% financing on their top fungicides today. Talk to your retailer to get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grow Getters. Thanks for tuning in. I am your host, Davis Michaelsen. We're talking to farm people, farm folks, and in today's case, an orchardist who have maybe a little something going on the side, a little extra revenue stream coming in on the farm, the ranch, or on the orchard, as the case may be. While I've got you here real quick, make sure and like and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of Grow Getters. There's a whole bunch of them now, and I love every single one of them. I'd hate for you to miss one. Kait Thornton, a.k.a. also known as the Apple Girl or Apple Girl Kait. That's her social handle. Solid following looks like here. More than 500,000 followers across many platforms. Let me give you a quote from Kait. A lot of people have lost their faith in our food supply, assuming it's an over-mechanized and impersonal industry. I know that is far from the truth, so I shed light on the incredible sophistication, intention, and heart behind the food produced in our nation. A massive, huge following on social and a great story to tell. Kait Thornton, Apple Girl Kait, come on in here. How are you, Kait? I appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Hi, thank you so much. Wow, reading off that quote, I sound a lot smarter than I think.
Oh, this is wonderful. And I do want to talk about this because one of the things that one of my personal missions as the host of Grow Getters, like there's non-farm people out there watching YouTube every day. They have no idea what happens in an orchard, what happens on a cattle farm. And so to be able to bring folks like you and others, along to sort of tell us about that, give us a window into that life. I'm excited about that. And I love the sentiment here. Before we get going, let's establish a little farm cred. Okay. Talk to us about the home farm. What conventional operations have you got on the farm there growing up? Give us the story.
Yeah, so I'm fourth generation apple and pear grower. So I was literally born in the house that I live at now, like a pioneer baby. And I, spent many years helping out on the orchard, doing irrigation, things like that. And our sole income is commercial fruit production. So we're about 60% pears, 40% apples, which everyone's always like, well, you're the pear girl, actually. But on my side of the farm, we have more of the apples. So that's what I grew up really knowing. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of energy, especially being a labor intensive industry. And I've just totally enjoyed growing up on the farm and took more of an interest when I started selling fruit at about age 16.
At age 16. Okay. You are our first orchardist here on Grow Getters. I have so many questions. So you're in Washington State, right? Is the climate up there more friendly to orchardry than it is in other places around the United States? What gives?
Absolutely. It's the apple capital of the world. So when you think of Washington, what kind of weather do you think of?
Well, I don't know, cloudy, kind of maybe not real hot type of thing.
Yeah, so we're divided by the Cascade Mountains, and on the west side, you got Seattle, and that's a ton of rain, a huge amount of precipitation coming off of the ocean. And then you go on the east side. I'm in central Washington, but still on the other side of those mountains. I'm way up north, so about 25 minutes from the Canadian border. And that comes with a lot of cooler temperatures, but you got those true 4 seasons. Those cooler temperatures help with fruit development. It helps the fruit store longer, helps it snap more, have better texture, have better color. And then we've also got a lot of sunny days over here. So it's more of an alpine desert. So we don't get a lot of rainfall. We get about the same amount of rainfall as Phoenix, Arizona, and a lot of those sunny days. So we actually live in the sunny Okanagan up here.
The sunny Okanagan. All right. I'm learning all kinds of things today. This is terrific. This is really great. So your fourth generation, was there an existing orchard there before when your 4 people settled there? Or were they like, you know what we got to do? We got all these Bartlett pear seeds. Let's make an orchard.
Well, so when it comes to the pears, my dad's the one who first started growing pears. So I guess I'm a fourth generation apple grower.
Okay.
generation pear grower. But when my great grandparents moved over, so Theo and Roy moved over from I believe Virginia, and settled down in Kashmir, which is south of us, and then moved up north. And they were like true pioneers. I mean, there's not a whole lot out here except for agriculture. My town is population about 1,100. And so they came up and they had a couple of mules and they ran some cows and then started planting trees. And so we actually have a lot of that original land that we've been able to either buy back or keep in the family.
Yeah.
But they're the ones who got it started. So it's 100 years this year, actually, since we started growing fruit in this valley. Now, I think I'm like a 6th generation farmer in general.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. But 2nd generation parist. How do you, I don't know. Pear producer. I don't know. I'm getting in the weeds here pretty deep.
Yes.
We'll talk about all the different kinds of apples that you grow there at your orchard in just a little bit. I think maybe now's as good a time as any to kick us off with a little bit of a song here. And it goes a little something like this. Neighbor got in a car crash. Sister's got a broken heart. Grandma needs some fiber. Needs those vitamins too. Eat some fruit from the apple girl. Eat some fruit from the apple girl. Don't want a box of Cheetos. People, it's just fruit I'm thinking of. Eat some fruit. It's always good advice, right? So nutritious, fiber, even probiotics, I would expect are in fruit a little bit anyway, right?
Yes. It's great for your microbiome. We got the soluble fibers, which you touched on. So very, very well said. Lots of vitamins. Yeah, an apple a day.
That's what they say. You look like you haven't been to the doctor in years. You seem pretty healthy. Like, okay. I was going to ask you about this. Okay, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I've seen people, and maybe I'm doing it wrong, but they eat the whole, like the core and everything. Do people do that? Is that a thing?
Yeah, people are very proud of that. Like
really,
they make their whole personality about that if they do it. But I don't recommend. I feel like that ruins the experience.
Have you done it at least once just to see what happens?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that like, if you're like a real Washingtoner, will you eat the core? Is that the thing?
Yeah, it's the rite of passage, actually. You can't have an umbrella. There's like, you don't use umbrellas in rainstorms, and you eat the entire apple.
Good to know. To know. Well, your personal story kind of all started at apricots. Some people say apricots. I'm an apricot guy. I happen to really like apricots. I think they're delicious. Talk to us how apricots got you started.
Well, it's kind of cute. Like at my age, so I'm 22. My dad told me that like when he was around 22, 23, he planted a few apricot trees. I say apricot.
Okay, fair enough.
And he was like, oh, it'll be cool. Maybe one day my kids will be able to sell these and stuff. And they're a great variety. So we've got some rivals, but the majority of the trees are perfection apricots, which are these big, they're like almost like peach-like, and great apricot flavor. And so when I was it was a couple days before my 16th birthday, my dad was like, here, we got these apricots if you want to sell them. Otherwise, they're just going to hit the ground because I don't feel like picking them all because we didn't have a commercial market for it. Growing up, my older siblings, I've got 2 older siblings and a younger brother, and my older siblings would pack all of the fruit and sell it at a bulk price to a grocery store about 40 miles east of us. But we had kind of lost out on that market, and I kind of wanted to make a little bit more money.
Sure.
So I wanted to sell more directly. And I was like, I'm going to try Facebook Marketplace. And I put an ad out there, and I just started meeting strangers, but not really strangers because it's a small town.
Sure.
Off of Facebook. And the first sale, I actually had to have one of our employees drive me to the meetup spot because I couldn't drive yet. And then a couple days later, I got my license, and the rest is history. So I started selling apricots. My dad was like, if you sell 20 boxes, I'll be impressed. And I ended up selling 44. And
Wow.
and then he was like, "You're good at this thing called marketing and meeting the public." And he decided, he's like, "You can sell some more apples if you like and pears and see how you do." And I just enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
Kate's was born.
Well, that's interesting because I talked to, it's probably better than half. I talk to farm kids who kind of need to go through this experience where they leave the farm. You know, they move to Edmonton for a few years, or they go to college in Champaign, or wherever they wind up going. But there are some who just have that pull; they can't stay away, and they just got to come back. You're at this point anyway, at least skipping that whole mess. You've been there the whole time, keeping a consistent watch on all that goes around there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still went to school, but I went to
Mhm.
Washington State University, so in state, and pretty much every weekend that we didn't either have a home game or I didn't have something pressing going on, I
Yeah.
was driving 4.5 hours back to the farm and
Oh, wow.
yeah, and tying down truckloads and of course getting social media content and then selling a bit of fruit on my way
Mm-hmm.
back to Pullman.
Mm-hmm. What here? I got this from you. What started as picking rocks grew to thinning trees, irrigation management, and now driving truck, farm operations, and marketing the family's fruit. That really must keep you busy there.
Oh yeah, I'm never bored. I can't remember the last time I was bored.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, I'm going to sing to you again really quick.
Oh,
It feels
okay.
like a good time.
Yes.
All of my guests on Grow Getters, I write an ode for them. I write all sorts of little songs and things, but this will be an ode. Yeah, it goes like this. Hey, Kait Thornton, it's Apple Girl Kait for tasty fruits and boxes with a personal touch. Apple Girl Kait. There's nothing quite like a good apricot. Sugar beet apples and Bartlett pears. Hang your backpack in a tree to keep away bears. Hey, Kait Thornton on the Grow Getters Show. All right, now let's talk about all those apples. I have it here, roughly 10 apple varieties here. Now we mentioned sugar bee apples there and Bartlett pears.
Yes.
Are the sugar bee apples your favorite?
They're my favorite for just like eating.
Mhm.
But I think with like for pairing and things, Cosmic Crisp is my favorite.
Cosmic Crisp. And so you must have it all worked out. Some of these would be great for a pie. Others of these, like maybe you core them and stuff them full of cinnamon and butter and then bake them in the oven for a little while. What's your biggest seller here?
Ooh, my biggest seller is definitely Cosmic Crisp.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's just a great all-around apple. I'd say it's like the new and improved Red Delicious. It's
Mhm.
a beautiful, gorgeous color. So it's deep red color with pronounced lenticels, which are those little white spots on the fruit. And
Mhm.
then it keeps really well. And then you got to like some size variety, but they're usually pretty large. And then a lot of my customers, they're buying 25-pound boxes and their kids will like slice open half of them. And you know how kids are, they get picky if their like fruit turns brown or whatever.
Oh, sure.
The Cosmic Crisp are very slow to brown. So
Mhm.
less waste for those families. And then they've got a complex flavor. So a sweet tart flavor to them, incredible applesauce, incredible like apple crisps, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. That's terrific.
We will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
We can't control the weather. We can't affect the global demand for corn and soy. We can't even fix that piece of equipment you swear is still good if you just had the right part. But BASF can offer you 0% financing on our proven, consistent performing fungicides. Our grower finance program is here to help you maximize your yield potential and savings with 0% APR on some of the highest performing fungicides available until March 15th, 2025. Because now more than ever, every dollar counts, and you can't beat 0% financing on innovative corn and soybean fungicides like Revitech fungicide, Revilock fungicide, and Veltima fungicide. Keep more in your wallet while improving your yield potential. Talk to your BASF retailer today about the Grower Finance Program to lock in 0% APR. Subject to credit approval, terms and conditions. See BASF Grower Finance Program for details. Always read and follow label directions.
Let's move on for hang on a second. I got to get my notes here. Let's let's go ahead and move on, because you've got such a social media presence there, 500,000 something followers over a couple of platforms and whatnot. First question: do you consider yourself a fluencer? Do you ever put fluencer at the end of when you describe yourself?
An influencer?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of people who do what I do don't really like to go by influencer, but I don't really care. I think people, I want to kind of change the connotation behind the word, because a lot of people, you hear influencer and you think
Yeah.
a girl in a bikini, showing off
Mhm.
her body for likes, and that's not the case. I want to influence people to purchase fruit and to understand where that fruit is coming from and who they're supporting with their dollar.
Yeah.
But in other words, I am a content creator.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Me too. I think we're creating content right now. In fact,
Yes.
Kate, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that. What is it that you want? Joey non-farmer, Jeannie non-farmer, Bill, the guy that doesn't know anything about orchards. When you're posting, when you're out there on social media, what is it that you're showcasing? What are you hoping people will see and take away from that?
Long story short, I would say I just don't want people to think an apple is just an apple. I want people to go in a grocery store, and I get this comment, and this is probably my favorite comment of all time, is people will say, I think of you every time I see an apple or every time I eat an apple.
Oh,
And
wow.
I want people to realize, like, fresh produce sitting on the store shelves as is, like, it's a miracle that it made it there, because not only is it a miracle from the growing side, and I show my audience that, like, all the things that we go through and all the decisions you have to make and all the intention behind even just the picking methods and the mode of transportation. But once it gets to the warehouse, then it has to be stored correctly. It has to be ran across the line correctly and sorted correctly. And then it has to be handled through QC and go to a distribution center for a major retailer and then distributed there from there. And you can do all of these things just for a, like, 17-year-old stock boy to drop the fruit on the ground and or not sort it correctly. And so there's so much behind it, and I want people to realize that it really is an impressive food supply chain that we have here in America.
Well, and when you're talking about, like, let's go back to where you started with the apricots. They were just laying there, right? Had you not done that, that would be money left on the table.
Yes. My dad, so I bring my dad, I mean, my dad's one of my, like, my audience loves him, right?
Mhm.
And because he's on his, like, 37th, 38th crop year, and he's a big believer in passion, because that's, like, his parents instilled that in him, and he was like, all right, if you have passion for it, go for it. And he recognized my passion, but he was like, you can work a regular high school kid's job, like, being a barista or whatever, which would have been great. But this way I could still do sports. I could have a flexible schedule. I could focus on all the things I had going on, and still learn about the farm as well. So I do give that to my father a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Let's come up to that question now. I mentioned it earlier, and it's a little bit unfair. It's a big question, but again, think about that younger orchard girl, that farm girl, that rancher girl who's young and sees someone like you, and thinks, "Gosh, I could never do that." They're looking at you on social. They got you on the phone. They're flipping through, like, "Wow, that I could never get there." Talk to those people.
I do love this part, because I'm such a big believer in building up young people. And that's, like, what I want my Kate's Crates business to be, is, like, still hiring those 16, 17-year-olds, because I want to build confidence in young people. I want to build those skills that you learn on a farm. I think you have I talk to a lot of CEOs these days and people that are in hiring, management, etc. And they're like, when I see a kid, like, there's a farm kid or someone that has experience on a farm, like, that says a lot to me, because you're constantly being put in these situations where you've got to problem solve, or you got to do the best that you can, or you make a mistake, and you have to learn from it. And there's also a lot of situations where you could make the wrong decision and your life's in danger. So it's a lot of responsibility on a young person. And you also have an understanding of how the real world works. I remember sitting in college classes, and I was in business college, and we're learning all these different things, these concepts in accounting, et cetera. And I would just take all of that knowledge and I'd apply it to the farm. But I was looking at these kids around me and I'm like, are they able to conceptualize a lot of this? Because not a lot of them have that real world experience of like, microeconomics, macroeconomics, just how a business runs. And I was really thankful for that perspective. And then I'll just wrap it up with this. It's like, I was 15 years old. I had braces. I was awkward. And I realized I was like, well, in my little 15-year-old mind, I'm like, if I'm not going to be very cute, I might as well be handy. And that's what like made me want to I wanted to be a capable chick. I'm like, no one could take that away from me. It doesn't matter what your looks are like, even your personality. But if I'm capable, that goes a long ways. And so I think there's so many valuable things that you can obtain by being a farm girl, having an awareness of how agriculture works, because honestly, if you can do that, you can do anything.
Kait, that's a terrific thought there. We're coming up to the end here. Before I cut you loose, let's make sure that we let the good people know how to get a hold of you. Websites, social, how do we get a hold of you?
I'm going to work on YouTube this year, but right now I'm mainly on Instagram and TikTok, and you can find me at Apple Girl Kait, and I spell Kait Kait. Kait,
Apple Girl Kait. You know what? I think I am going to sing just one more. I don't know how this one is going to go, but I saw when you graduated, and I thought you might like this one. We'll see what happens here. Hey, Kait, you showcase that farm life every day. You got that Bartlett bravado and an orchard too. And when you box up those goods and put them in the mail, we all know, that's what makes you fruitable. Nutrition and fiber, it's real food. Good for your teeth and your bones, probiotic too. You're at the top of your game with a bowl of fruit. We all know, that's what makes you fruitable. Fruitable.
That was my favorite one.
Kait Thornton, thank you so much for spending some time with us here. Let me make sure I get it right. Apple Girl Kait, that's Kait, right here on Grow Getters. Kait, thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you.
Production support provided by Zach Zingula and Jack Heffron. For Farm Journal Studios, it's Davis Michaelsen, inviting you to like and subscribe and tune in next time. In the meantime, let's get out there and grow get 'em, everybody.
Grow Getters is a production of Farm Journal Studios, where no one grows alone.